Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and here is my Week 10 battle for the UBL. This is actually the last week of the UBL regular season. Big thanks to everybody for tuning in all season long. I've been really overwhelmed with the support for this season. We've been getting at least 100 or up to 150 views on almost every battle. Some of them we went over 200, which is really fantastic. I think week 1 we went like over 300, and then our battle versus Leo is a little over 200. So I just really appreciate you guys dropping in each week and rooting for the Baltimore Oriolus. So thanks so much. Before we get into the breakdown this week, I do just want to apologize for this being a little bit late with the Thanksgiving holiday and everything. It really screwed up my schedule. We did a lot of traveling, spent some time with family, ate a lot of turkey, drank a lot of punch, which was pretty fun. So that's what's causing the delay here. So thank you all for bearing with me. We have a very fun battle for you guys today. I hope you're really looking forward to it. It is versus Joe Dorr, coach of the Seattle Seakings. Now, Joe Dorr actually is fighting for his playoff life. He has a 4-5 record coming into this game. We have a 7-2 record. I had to think about that for a second. So our playoff spot is locked up, but we are still jockeying for seeding. If we win, we virtually guarantee the number 1 seed. I guess there might be some situation where if we get like a +1 victory and Frosted, who is in second place, gets like a 6-0 victory, she could maybe surpass us, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't looked that closely at the different scenarios. I'm mostly just happy to be in playoffs, if I'm being honest. But Joe, on the other hand, like I said, is at 4-5. If he wins, he's basically in. So there's a lot of pressure on him this game in order to clinch his spot. If he loses, then he's going to need some luck. The game between Gregulator and Irish Emerald puts 2 4-5 teams against one another, and so the winner of that potentially clinches their spot. And then Root is sitting at a 4-5 record. He needs a dub, and if he gets a dub, he's probably in just based off of differential. If Joe loses and then Root somehow loses, it's going to be between him, Root, and the loser of Greg versus Irish, all at 4-6, and it'll come down to differential as to who gets the last playoff spot. So basically, he wants to win. He doesn't want to have to rely on luck, I'm sure. And so we have a potential to play spoiler here, which is always fun. I like to play spoiler. Nothing against Joe, but it's always fun to ruin someone else's season. It's more fun when your season's already ruined. It's not quite as satisfying when your season is comfortable, which has not been the case for me lately. This is like my first time in like 3 leagues making playoffs, so I've been in a bit of a dry spell. So happy to be guaranteed for playoffs. Even if we lose this game, we'll still make it as the 1 or 2 seed. Because if Frosted loses, then we'll almost certainly get the 1 seed no matter what. Unless we get 6-0, she gets 1-0 or something like that. But anyway, let me stop wasting time and let me break down the teams for you. So obviously you can see the 6 that Joe has elected to bring to this match on your screen, but he has on his total squad Bronzong, Gengar, Mega Houndoom, Komala, Lantern, Reuniclus, Ribombi, Slowking, Tangrowth, Tornadus T, and Zygarde 50. So a lot of major threats. Zygarde is one of the scariest mons to have to deal with in Draft League format. We had to fight the Zygarde 10% earlier on in the season versus Leo's Durham Druddigons. Of course, that team is now the Los Angeles Clefable, and they've dropped the Zygarde from their team. But Joe has one sitting on his team nice and pretty there in the 3rd slot. He also has some mons with typings that I don't deal that well with. Like Torn is really scary, as is Ribombi. I don't have, especially flying resists, I don't have great flying resists, and then Fairy is very good at pressuring my team as well. So I'm going to have to keep an eye out on those things. Definitely expected those 3 mons to come. There's a few others on his bench that I thought would come rather than like Houndoom, for example. Houndoom I didn't think was, I mean, it's decent. It outspeeds a lot of my team. And it speeds tie with Sneasel, and Sneasel doesn't have a great way of hitting it. It does it's the dual stabs of Sneasel are resisted by Houndoom. But anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about what he didn't bring. We'll just talk about what he did bring. And I'll also talk about what I brought, of course. I brought a offensive baton pass Lopunny. I brought a Specs Venomoth. I brought a Sneasel with a SD and 3 attacks. I brought a specially defensive Stealth Rock Heatran. I brought a physically defensive Leftovers Protect Quagsire. And I brought a pretty spicy Togekiss set. I brought Nasty Plot Roost with Moringa Berry. And if you don't know what Moringa Berry does, it gives you a +1 special defense boost when you are hit with a special attack. And so it makes me very good for dealing with like pretty much anything not named Gengar, like even like a Sludge Bomb Houndoom, as long as it's not also Nasty Plot. It's not going to be able to two-shot a Togekiss. I don't even think it can. I don't even think it can 2-hit KO after Rocks, given the amount of special defense investment that I have, and that potentially at the +1 Moringa Berry boost. So it's pretty cheeky. It's just a little bit less cheeky because he did bring the Gengar. I wasn't sure if the Gengar was going to come or not, because I do have good ways to trap it. I have good ways to revenge kill it, and I have 3 Ghost Immunities. But nonetheless, Gengar is here, and it is looking scary versus the squad that I brought. So anyway, in terms of leads, I actually like Lopunny as a lead, because I can potentially baton pass out of a few different Mons, kind of depending upon what he chooses to lead, or I can just go for an attack right away. Like, it outspeeds everything on his team as long as it's not packing a Scarf. I can hit Bronzong if it tries to stay in and go for Rocks. I can hit it with a big high jump kick, potentially to a KO, depending upon its spread. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I guess the only thing I wouldn't stay in on is Zygarde, just because Zygarde's tanky enough to deal with Lopunny, which is definitely annoying. And then if I'm sniffing out a Scarf on something, I probably won't stay in either. But that said, let's just go ahead and get started with this match. Click play, and wish good luck, have fun to Joe. Again, nothing against you, buddy. I like your content, and you know, he's done great things with the NPA, GBA, NPA League War. Great Twitter drama. You know, I really like how that was orchestrated. But you got to go down. And we are going to start off with our Lopunny, as I mentioned, and we're going up against Bronzong in this turn 1 matchup. And so I am expecting just for him to go to Rocks immediately, because it is pretty nice versus my team. It allows him to punish my Togekiss and my Venomoth quite easily. And like, he could go for Thunder Wave and Psychic, anything like that, but hey, I'm a man. You know, this game is, even though I want to push Joe out of playoffs, you know, it doesn't really matter that much for me. So we're making the big man plays because there's no consequences. So he does switch out after taking about 40-45%. Does suggest that it's pretty physically defensive. And then on this turn, I'm expecting him to switch out, so I'd like to go for Baton Pass here and get a little bit of momentum. He does choose to go into his Ribombee, which does, of course, resist does quad resist the fighting type move. Still pretty risky if he, you know, if I were to switch it up and go for a return, that probably would one-shot the Ribombee or come damn close to doing it. But anyway, I am able to go into Venomoth and threaten that thing out, and he is going to go into his Bronzong. Like, at this point, like, I should 2-hit KO pretty much anything on the team, which is pretty awesome. But the only unfortunate thing about going into Venomoth here is that he's able to pretty easily go into his Tornadus, as you can see. So maybe I should have gone into something like Heatran instead. I assume that there's like Hidden Power Ground on that Ribombee. But I choose to go into the Venomoth instead. Mostly because I wanted to try and keep my Heatran healthy for something like this Tornadus, if I could. And I do choose to go into it here as I take that Air Slash pretty well. And he now shows his tech move. He does have superpower, and so we get really lucky. We survive on 1 HP. I'm not exactly sure what sort of investment he had or what sort of role that it was. I assume that it was probably in his favor to kill me. And I go for a Toxic here on this Tornadus, and so this is a turn where I'm kicking myself quite a bit. Like, not so much because 9 times out of 10 I'm sure I was supposed to die there. But given the fact that I did live, I'm really wishing I had gotten up my Rocks. That would have made this game quite a bit easier. And we'll talk about why a little bit later. But he does not revenge kill me, but he takes me out with a U-turn, and he's going to be able to bring in his Zygarde. And so this is nice because now I don't even need to switch in on 1,000 arrows with my Quagsire. I can just go into it hard right now, and I could just go straight for an Ice Punch. As he shows another tech move, he has Grass Knot on his Zygarde here, so that is pretty nuts. Busting out all of the lures this week, and he is going to pop his Yachi Berry as I hit him up with an Ice Punch pretty well. I suppose I could have gone for the Protect on that first turn, but I didn't see the Grass Knot coming. That's my fault for not knowing what sort of moves that Zygarde gets. But I thought that he would switch out, given the fact that I just went to Quagsire. And so I didn't want to like waste a turn going for Protect if he was just going to switch out anyway. I'd rather try and get a little bit of damage on something. because he doesn't have an ice resist on his team. No, I guess he has the what do you call it, the Houndoom, so that's kind of an ice resist, but Houndoom isn't really a switch into anything, so I digress. So he's able to take out my Quagsire, but, you know, Quagsire did enough. It was able to pop the Yachi Berry on the Zygarde, and I have left my Lopunny, my Sneasel, my Venomoth, and my Togekiss. And so, like, I don't really have a mon that I want to go into. I decided that Sneasel is going to be the best because I know I can take an E-Speed because this thing is not banded. It's got his Yachi Berry popped, and so I can pretty easily go for Icicle Crash. And as long as I connect, I should be able to easily kill the Zygarde. I guess I could have gone into Togekiss, but, like, I'm still holding out hope that maybe Togekiss can win in the late game. Like, all I need to do is get my Moringa Berry boost and then be at a pretty decent amount of HP. And then be at +2, and then I can kill the whole team, because the Gengar, depending upon its spread, is not going to be able to do too much damage to me. Like, I think at most I do, like, if it's not Life Orb, the most that I take after +1 is like 50%. It, you know, sort of depends on, you know, what other items he has, but anyway, he goes into Ribombee to try and scare up my Sneasel. I don't really have a switch into it, so I just try to go for Ice Shard to get off as much damage as possible. As he pulls a double into his Houndoom, I lose the Speed Tie, and he goes for a Dark Pulse to kill, which is a bit of a bummer. But, you know, there was no point in me doing anything else with my Sneasel at that point. It wasn't going to survive another Rock Switch in. So after Sneasel goes down, Lopunny comes in, is going to threaten out the Houndoom, as I'm just going to launch off a Return. I don't know if I should have gone for the Return or the High Jump Kick. Like, High Jump Kick, I don't think it would have killed the Houndoom there. And if he was going to switch into Tornadus, like, High Jump Kick plus Return obviously kills. I guess it's mostly just this Ribombee. If he just wanted to switch into Ribombee again, I wanted to be able to hit it with the Return and try and get it on the switch that way. But after Tornadus goes down, he does finally go into Ribombee, which definitely screams that it's Scarf. And I make maybe a bit of a misplay here. I go hard Venomoth. And I don't do any calcs before I make this play. And it's going to turn out that I cannot survive 2 Scarf Moonblasts from this Ribombee. So what I probably should have done was just gone into Togekiss. That actually would have been the best play, because I would immediately get the Moringa Berry boost, and I could go for a Roost, get a decent amount of HP up. I'm sure he would try and go hard Gengar. But, you know, because I have my Moringa Berry boost, he wouldn't do quite as much damage to me. And actually, I go for another Roost here, hoping that he might go for just a Moonblast and pop my Moringa Berry now. But it makes more sense for him to trying to go for Gengar. Maybe if I had tried to be more aggressive here and gone for a Shadow Ball or even a Dazzling Gleam. Like, Dazzling Gleam would probably do an okay amount of damage to Gengar. It's not like Gengar's really that bulky. It's a little bit more bulky on the especially defensive side, but anyway, I go for Roost. He goes for Gengar. I am expecting the Poison-type move, so I do go into Lopunny. He reveals no Life Orb or anything, and so and he doesn't stay in, which would have suggested that he was Scarf. And so I just go for Return, and I'm going to be able to two-shot this Houndoom that comes in. I'm wondering now if this Gengar is like Colbur Berry. It sort of makes sense because it allows him to deal with the Sneasel if it had Pursuit or something like that. So that's kind of what I'm banking on. If he is Colbur Berry, like I said, I can potentially, like, not likely, but I can still potentially 1v1 with the Togekiss with the investment that I have. Very specially defensive. But anyway, as it is, he's going to be able to go into his Ribombee and revenge kill my Lopunny, which leaves me with just my Togekiss in here. Maybe I should have switched it in on that Moonblast there, just kind of like the turn a few turns ago, instead of sacking off my Venomoth. You know, but it is what it is. I go for a Roost here. I'm now looking at 100% HP versus this Gengar. It goes for Sludge Wave, like I said. So it should do about 75% max if he's not a boosting item. And then after the Moringa Berry boost, I get up to +1, and he can no longer do more than 50% damage to me with his Sludge Bomb, or sorry, his Sludge Wave. But as you can see, he brings me down to like 18 HP rather, which is like less than 10%. So he's doing like 65% damage, which suggests that he's Expert Belt. And on top of that, of course, he does land the Poison. So even without the Expert Belt, I think once he landed the Poison, it was going to be GG for me. because I would not be able to 1v1 him at that point. It was kind of a pipe dream to begin with anyway, because like basically I need to be at 100% HP, which I can never be as long as he's like spamming Sludge Bomb. Like the amount of HP that I gain on a given turn is like 5%. So like it's almost never going to happen that I get up to 100% HP. And then as soon as I get up to 100% HP, I launch that Shadow Ball off, and then he's going to be able to go for 2 Sludge Waves versus me, get me back down to like 10%. So anyway, long story short, it was a hard to win situation, and we are going to catch a 2-0 loss versus Jodor. So good game, man. You really did a good job with your prep. Those lure sets really caught me off guard. Scarfry Bombi was a really nice bring. Like being able to prevent the rocks was really huge on his part. So like he brought in Rybombi like 3 times in the end game there, scotch free. Once versus a Sneasel, and then 2 different times versus Lopunny. So if I had up rocks, he would have had to play that game a lot differently. Also, like I wonder what would have happened if I went into the Heatran versus the Rybombi on turn 2 instead of going into Venomoth. But that's sort of hindsight 2020 sort of thing. He probably had coverage for my Heatran. So that's going to drop us to 7-3. And that puts Joe into a likely playoff position. I think he's going to come in as the 4 seed when all is said and done. But I do want to tell you guys a quick note about the match between Frosted and Sarah Serene Grace, who was her Week 10 opponent. Frosted did end up losing. That drops her record down to 6-4, which does mean we are confirmed for the 1 spot for the Emma Stone division. So that's pretty awesome. It feels good to get in as the 1 seed. That's going to put us in a showdown versus the 4 seed, which actually I'm not sure what the result of that is. As I'm recording this, the match between A-Drive and Deebs just finished. I don't want to spoil that because I don't know if they'll get their battles up before me. But just to let you guys know, the result of this match matters, because if Deebs loses by I think 5-0 or worse, then Steve, aka Magnitude, actually would creep into the 4 spot. If he did not lose that badly, or if he wins, he's actually going to advance to the 4 seed and be our opponent. So as of this moment, it's unclear of who I play. Obviously, you guys will know by the end of the next weekend, because that's when our match will be going up. But literally, I don't know who it is right now as I'm recording this. So I'm going to hop on off so I can go try and figure out what that result is. You guys will obviously check it out on Deebs' channel or A-Drive's channel. A-Drive, I don't know if I mentioned, but that's the opponent for Deebs this week. Make sure you go check out that battle on both of their sides. Hope you're looking forward to it. And make sure you put on your rally caps. The Baltimore Oriolus are going to need all of your support as the playoffs begin. We're going to try and make a good run at this. Would love to win the championship, but would also just be happy with not embarrassing ourselves. So cross your fingers for me. Thank you for all your support. Make sure you check out the channel for other gaming and Pokemon content. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.